If you have been with this channel for a while, you know the journey of Hailey Van Lith from heading to LSU and then getting blamed for them not repeating as champs when they went out to Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Then the rebound, the transfer to TCU, the fantastic senior season, the overachieving with that team, doing things they hadn't done, I was going to say forever, but it might have just been a long, long time. And then getting drafted in the first round by, unfortunately, the Chicago Sky, while they had Angel Reese, another setback, didn't really get a chance to prove herself last year, gets waived, latches on with the Connecticut Sun. And we thought, oh, great. Hopefully she gets an opportunity. Now, unfortunately, terrible team. They're kind of in limbo heading to Houston next season, so it's kind of a mess. But we all thought, hey, you know what? She's a good player. We know what the WNBA is like with some good players. Hopefully she gets a chance, and she did, because I did a video after, about 3 games? She was off to a fantastic start, getting good minutes off the bench, where I think in those first 3 games, those minutes increased each game. She was playing very well. And get this, she continued to play well, which we are going to get into here in a second, because I need someone to explain this to me. Hailey Van Lith was just waived by the Connecticut Sun, and while in any other professional league, I might think, oh, I don't really agree with that decision. Hope she latches on somewhere else and gets a chance, but I don't really think much past that. But hey, hold on, step back, timeout. It's the WNBA. So when we look at what Hailey Van Lith has done on the court, we can clearly see that there's no reason whatsoever from a basketball point of view that Hailey Van Lith should get waived. It is simply not there. No one can make that case at all. Here's what we get. Apparently folks, this is a hate crime. Okay, this is discrimination. This is a crime against humanity. It is a crime against attractive people. Hailey Van Lith, straight, white, hot. If you are that in the WNBA, you can play. Not. Add the fact that she's good. Not in this hood. That is why Hailey Van Lith is not playing anymore for the Connecticut Sun. I mean, do we have to talk about the insane bullying of Kelsey Plum when she came into the league? By the way, look how she's thriving now that she is out from underneath the shadow of Asia Wilson. Sabrina Ionescu, right? It didn't really come to light for most people until Caitlin Clark entered the league, but she went through hell. And I got to lean more than 50-50 that if Caitlin Clark doesn't come into the WNBA, Sabrina Ionescu might not still be playing. That's how bad it was for her. And now we see Hailey Van Lith, because I'm going to show you folks, okay, let's be clear about what's going on with Hailey Van Lith. She's coming off the bench, not even playing 18 minutes a game, okay, not even playing 18 minutes a game, averaging 8.1 points. You put that into a number of minutes, and she's averaging over 16, maybe 17 minutes a game, because you double her number. That's, 35 minutes a game. Some starters play a little less, but, as we all know, in order to put bench player numbers in perspective, the full game statistic uses 36 minutes, in which case Hailey Van Lith would be averaging about 17 minutes a game. Also shooting phenomenal. She's shooting over 47% from 3. Okay, 50% from 2. Her effective field goal percentage is 55.7%. Also tossing in 2.2 assists, which again, basically double it, a little more. We're talking 4.5 assists a game, 17 points, 4.5 assists. We're talking big time numbers that a lot of those guards put in the top 10 in this league are not touching. But let me show you this. Look at this in another way. If I can find it. All right, here we go. Now it says 4, but she's tied. Hailey Van Lith is tied for 3rd on the Connecticut Sun in scoring, coming off the bench, playing 17 minutes a game. By the way, all 3 players ahead of her, or one of them's actually tied, they all are playing 5. We got 5, like 6.5, and almost 10 minutes more per game for those 3 players. By the way, The three players and four of the next five below her, all playing more minutes than Hailey Van Lith. There is no universe where you can tell me that this is a legitimate waiving of a player that is the last player on the roster. It simply does not compute. There's no possible way Hailey Van Lith got waived by the Connecticut Sun because of her inability to play basketball. So then that's where you have to start asking questions. Well, why did she get waived? And then we look into the WNBA, and I've said this a million times before. The WNBA was someone's, and I'll give them credit, brilliant idea to create a social club. If you check the right boxes, you are invited, and center the parties and the get-togethers and the gatherings around basketball. Get the NBA to foot the bill because, you know, it's good PR for the NBA and they had the money to waste because David Stern did a fantastic job of growing the NBA. Of course, he had Michael Jordan to come in the league and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and all of that, but David Stern was still an absolutely fantastic commissioner for the NBA. The guy after him, named Adam Silver, has been the exact opposite of David Stern. He's been an absolute train wreck. But so David Stern got them into that, which was probably a mistake, but it was great PR. And now, of course, you're in that situation where the NBA couldn't pull out because of how bad the PR would look if they said, hey, you know what? This WNBA thing is not a good investment for us. The basketball is terrible. No one wants to watch. It's a cesspool of drama, reality shows, relationships, players sleeping with players on the same team and then breaking up, and the nightmare that causes in the locker room, and players sleeping with opponents, and how does that impact how they play on the game, and coaches would play. The whole thing is an absolute mess. And what we have found is that very specific types of players that come into the league are handled very differently by the league. There is Candace Wiggins. Now everyone's tried to erase her. You can't find that book she was writing anywhere. Amazon wouldn't take it, right? Remember, there's a whole book about how Candace Wiggins was run out of the league. And if you look at her performance, there's a lot of credence to that. She has never changed her story. She has stood on it. We've heard from Kelsey Plum. We know about Sabrina Ionescu, and on and on and on. And here we go. And again, I get the whole, this is kind of tinfoil hat stuff, right? But I wouldn't have this type of conversation in any other sports league. But when I look at the WNBA, it's almost the first thing that comes to mind. It is overwhelming when I look at how Hailey Van Lith is playing on that bad Connecticut Sun team. You in no way can convince me that this was a purely basketball decision. But I'll leave you with a Knives Out take, and it wouldn't happen. But with the selfish me ball that Kelsey Mitchell's been playing under, unfortunately, Steffi White with that $1.4 million contract, man, I'd like to see Hailey Van Lith play some shooting guard for the Indiana Fever. I'm just saying, how would that look? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Truly appreciate it. I will talk to you later.